Okay, this video is going to be about installing one of these NEP CC4 cruise controls on a 2016 GSX S1000. Your first step is so your grip will kind of look like this. You want to peel this rubber off of this plastic ring right here. You can see better. So this sits over the top of this ring. So you peel that back out of the way. The cruise control will sit on that inside ring there. As you can see, there's these little tabs that stick up just a bit. We'll deal with those in just a moment. But so you open your CC4 up so it looks like this. Just set the little switch piece. My phone's camera is jacked up so it keeps buzzing. Set this piece aside for the time being. So this will sit in here. It goes over that top cable and rests with the little, let's see, this little flange here that's raised goes towards the grip. So then you fold the top over just like that. And the switch piece sits on there like that. I couldn't really get it with one hand, but this piece of plastic goes over the top of the actual little hook piece, and that's what allows it to put tension on this. So now, talking about those little tabs that I mentioned earlier, so I don't have this tightened all the way down right now, but when you flip that into the on position where it has your throttle lock engaged, if you watch, you can see it move as the throttle moves because it's hitting that. You see, because that little plastic tab thing is running into it. So I'm going to remove that little tab. So I just use this, some kind of fish tool or something on my multipliers, and popped those little tabs out. You can see there's a little bit of roughness there where that one was removed, and did a little better job on the bottom one, but it's gone as well. So the next slight modification that I did was taking this piece of foam. This is just like the liner from inside of one of those plastic molded cases that pretty much every tool comes in, and wrapped that around this throttle cable and then secured it with a zip tie to keep it in place. And this prevents this cruise control from like wobbling side to side, front and back, up and down. That way when this is tensioned in place, it won't move. I had read some online that there was like just enough movement where this would slop up and down so that when you first set the cruise, the throttle was able to spring back just a bit until this came in contact. So this way, when you set it, it's actually set. So the next thing to do is to lock it in the cruise position and tension this nut until it actually holds the throttle where you want it. I've tightened this down. This pretty much sits flush, is about right for my bike. So when you twist the throttle, lock that down, the throttle stays in place. Then when you release, the throttle is able to spring forward. And then you just take your grip and push it back into place. I may trim, is that buzzing again? I may trim some of this to help this sit a little more flush later, but I'm not going to do that right now. yeah, so there it is installed. We'll take a test run and see if it works. Okay, so first test run. I should have removed my RAM mount before filming, so you could see the speedometer, but I got up to 50 miles an hour and engaged the cruise, and pretty much immediately it dropped down to about 45. So I tweaked on the throttle just a little bit, and it got it to get back up to 50, and it held that for just a little while, like a few seconds, and then the speeds started slowly decreasing again. It went to 45, to 42, to 41. This was in fourth gear, so standard kind of just around town cruising. When it got to around 41, it held, and it stayed there right around 40-41 until when I released the cruise. And you can see when I release the cruise control, the bike, the throttle returns as it's supposed to, and the bike slows down, which is a good sign. But I was hoping that maybe the cruise not holding was just due to being the first to use. I tried it again a couple more times on this run, and it would work sometimes, other times it wouldn't. For this cruise to work best, it likes to be used, it seems like at higher RPM. It doesn't particularly matter too much what gear. Here, in this part of the clip, I got up to 5th gear and set it, I believe it was around 55 or so, and it was doing better than the first time, but it still, it would go to 53, 52, 51, and then as soon as it started dropping off, it would drop off at a fairly steady pace. It would continue to slow to a loss of like 7 or 8 miles an hour, and then it would tend to hold fairly well. If you reach up and turn the throttle just a little bit more, it will allow you to speed back up, and then the speed will slowly kind of just drip down again. Here's an example of more highway speed, a little higher RPM, like what I was talking about before. So when the cruise is engaged here, I was doing, I believe it was around 65 or so, and engaged the cruise control, and it was doing a much better job of holding. I believe I was in 4th, I don't remember, 4th or 5th, but anyway, it would do okay. At holding the more like sort of highway speeds. Someone that unfortunately was doing a bit too much highway speed. But so you see when I let go of the handlebar, I keep having to kind of adjust the throttle again. It was dropping by about 5 miles an hour. So if you set it to say 65 and your goal was 60, that's fine. But I really was hoping I could just set it and it would stick, fairly close to what I actually wanted the cruise to be set to. That's kind of the point. Here's an example of more highway speed, a little higher RPM, like what I was talking about before. So when the cruise is engaged here, I was doing, I believe it was around 65 or so, and engaged the cruise control, and it was doing a much better job of holding. I believe I was in 4th, I don't remember, 4th or 5th, but anyway, it would do okay at holding the more like sort of highway speeds. someone that unfortunately was doing a bit too much highway speed. But so you see when I let go of the handlebar, I keep having to kind of adjust the throttle again. It was dropping by about 5 miles an hour. So if you set it to say 65 and your goal was 60, that's fine. But I really was hoping I could just set it and it would stick, you know, fairly close to what I actually wanted the cruise to be set to. You know, that's kind of the point. So I gave up after the last one and just said, alright, I need to tension this some more. I went back to the house and tightened it another about half turn, and then took it back out. I got it up to right around 50 and set the cruise, and it did much better after being tightened a bit more. You want to make sure not to tighten it too much, because it can, if you tighten it too much, it won't allow the throttle to return automatically. When you flip the button, you might have to push it forward. For some people that might not be a big deal, but I really wanted mine to where when I turned the cruise off, it would immediately start slowing down. It does still favor being at higher RPM. Like, it works best if you set it in about third gear at 45. You can see here I was able to just let go and the bike maintained speed, and I was able to happily cruise down the road, save speed, not worrying about getting a ticket or anything, you know, not paying attention, accelerating too much. It does not like if you try to push it to like 45 or fourth gear, fifth gear at about 45. It doesn't want to cruise in the higher gears. It needs to have, you know, somewhat close to about 4,000 RPM for the cruise really to work. Below that, it just doesn't perform all that well, and that may be the nature of cruise controls on bikes in general, unless maybe you have one that's, you know, actually controlled by the bike's ECU. For these little aftermarket, you know, sort of brake lever resting type things, and these throttle lock type, that may be normal. This is my first experience with one of these. I've tried the sort that rests against the brake lever, and I didn't have good luck with it on this particular bike. But this one works well if you use it acknowledging the shortcomings. I mean, it's a piece that costs about 20 bucks. It's a lot cheaper than getting one that actually ties into the bike's electronics. And I've used it for, I'd say about 200 miles of testing so far. And like I said, that for around town, like your normal cruising speed, 35 or so, as long as you keep it in third gear, it does fine. And if you go into fourth or fifth, you can cruise around 55 or 60. Once you get up to around 70, 75, or anywhere higher, sixth gear works fine. If you're looking for something to just help you maintain speed, limit fatigue of your hand or wrist for long rides at reasonable speeds, I have no problem at all recommending this NEP cruise control. If they made one that would fit my other bike, I would get another one for it, because it's really nice. Particularly some of the areas that I frequent have a lot of very strict speed limits. You know, the cops are not super forgiving, so being able to set it where you don't have to worry about accidentally going faster than what you mean to go. This bike has a very twitchy throttle. It's easy to just accidentally be going 80, especially on most of the roads I've spend time on are like this one, where it's a lot of long, straight, very little traffic. It's easy to go a lot faster than you intend. And with this device installed on your bike, you can cruise without worrying about it.